Emergency Management Minister Murray Watt is speaking as South East Queensland prepares for more rain and storms.
The Disaster Coordinator mentioned really the reason for activating ADF personnel now is that while Queensland had access both internally and through other states to a range of resources leading up to now, the compounding effect of this heavy rainfall and flooding on the damage that we'd already seen with the storms meant that, frankly, Queensland did need a bit of a hand with extra resources, and they were brave enough to ask, and we were happy to deliver with that support as well. So all up, we're talking about 120 personnel, either through the ADF or DRA, who'll be working with state personnel in coming days to help get that infrastructure relieved and those homes cleaned up. Just while I'm on my feet, I might also just mention we are, of course, as a federal government, also paying close attention to the flooding issues in northern New South Wales. At this stage, I think it's fair to say that they're not as serious as what we're seeing in South East Queensland, but there are parts of northern New South Wales that already have some flood warnings in place. So again, please, for residents in those areas, the same warnings apply. Stay off the roads if you can avoid it. If it's flooded, forget it. Keep yourselves safe. And on the other side of the country, unfortunately, it looks like we are looking at some serious bushfires in Western Australia in coming days. So we have moved the national large water bombing plane back to WA to assist with that effort as well. I'll let Minister McCallum go through this in detail, but as the Deputy Premier mentioned, we're also pleased today to be able to announce some further joint federal-state assistance to assist small businesses and primary producers. But as I say, I'll leave it for Minister McCallum to run through the detail of that.
Thanks, Minister. Minister McCallum.
We know that many small businesses are doing it tough following these major storms, and that's why we've been very pleased to work with the Albanese federal government to help provide support so that they can recover, rebuild and get back on track. And today, we're very pleased to announce jointly funded concessional loans, which will be available for impacted small businesses in the Logan, Scenic Rim and Gold Coast local government areas. This support includes disaster assistance concessional loans of up to $250,000, $250,000 to repair or replace damaged buildings, plant, stock and equipment. There's also essential working capital loans of up to $100,000 available to help enable continued operations for affected businesses. Now, that might include paying rent or wages. There are over 104,000 small businesses across these impacted regions. Now, not all businesses will be impacted, but that really does give an idea of the potential scale of the impact of these storms. In addition to the jointly funded federal and state assistance programs, we are also providing free assistance from our Queensland Small Business Commissioner. That is free mediation that's available for impacted businesses between the 25th of December to 2023 on Christmas Day through to the 13th of June this year. Today is also marking the start of our new Natural Disaster Business Survey. This survey is going to help measure and quantify the impact of severe weather events and help identify the next steps for recovery support. And I'd like to encourage any impacted business to complete the survey, which is now live on our Business Queensland website. We're going to use data from the survey to help determine what additional support might be required and learnings for the future. We know that recovery is a very long and often winding road, but I want our small businesses to know that if you've been affected, the Miles government has your back. And if there's a small business in your community that is reopened or is about to reopen, please consider supporting them. Drop in, say hello, buy a coffee, and let them know that our hard-working small businesses are backed by Queenslanders.
Nikki.
Good
Good morning. It's been another very busy night for our emergency service staff, and can I firstly thank those staff from the Queensland Fire and Emergency Services, from the SES, those folks who have come in from interstate to assist us, from New South Wales and from Victoria, the community recovery staff that are working hard with locals to make sure that people can access the financial assistance that they need, and also the DRA staff that we have on the ground at the moment. Can I also thank locals for their patience as well? I understand that a significant amount of time has passed since Christmas, and that's been a tough time for a lot of locals. We're doing everything that we can through our frontline workers to make sure that people can recover as quickly as possible. But unfortunately, we've got the weather to contend with as we do that work. The weather keeps on coming, and we're asking people to endure that for the moment, because we've certainly got crews there ready to work, ready to assist as soon as there is a break in the weather. And can I ask people from all around the country and from all around the state to look out for each other? It's one of the things that as Queenslanders we do best, but understand that it's been a very difficult time for people throughout the South East corner, and also people in the north who are continuing to recover from ex-tropical cyclone Jasper and the floods in far north Queensland. We've seen very significant falls overnight, and there's more to come. From Maryborough to the border, we expect up to 350 millimetres of rain to continue. It's a very dangerous forecast that we are facing over the next 24 hours. And for many people who are in or around those waterways, we're asking them to be particularly cautious. One of the things that I'm conscious of is the 20 swift water rescues that we have conducted since 5 a.m. on Monday. Those folks from fire and emergency services are very highly specialised, and they've been out assisting people who have been stranded in vehicles, assisting people in their homes, and also assisting people at campsites. Over 50 people have been rescued, and 44 of those came from Natural Bridge campsite. I'm asking Queenslanders to please consider their activities over the next 24 hours in particular. If you're at a campsite, if you're on the road and you don't necessarily need to be there, please think about what precautions you can take to keep yourself and our emergency service staff safe over the next 24 hours. Thankfully, we've had no reports of serious injury within this time, but we know we've had 700 requests for SES support over the last 24 hours. Since Christmas Day, that number is 4,800 requests for SES assistance, including more than 3,900 at the Gold Coast, Scenic Rim and Logan areas. We've got more than 220 SES, Rural Fire Service and Fire and Rescue Service personnel on the ground right now in these areas, along with 70 appliances and support vehicles. There is more than 100 people who have been deployed from interstate. The work is focused on chainsaw and working at heights across our emergency services, so we can make sure that people's roofs are tarped, that trees are cleared, and also we can reconnect essential services. Fire and Rescue have assessed already 3,500 properties with significant damage in storm-affected parts of the southeast corner. In terms of our disaster recovery, the QRA, the Queensland Reconstruction Authority, has announced 2 Deputy State Recovery Coordinators. One of them is based in the north, in the far north of Queensland, looking out for those communities who've been impacted by the cyclone and the floods. That's QFES Deputy Commissioner Mike Wassing. And here in the south, we've got a designated resource allocated, which is QPS Assistant Commissioner Ben Marcus. Their job will be the eyes and ears on the ground, making sure that local government and communities are feeding into state around what kinds of work needs to be conducted in this recovery effort, so we can make sure that we're getting communities back on their feet as quickly as possible. In terms of the storm, we've got the ability to, now with the floods, to be able to have a look at extending the activation of this event as well. So far, we've had 7 78,000 people apply for personal hardship assistance across both the north and the south of our state. And we've had 10,000 calls to the recovery hubs as well from people. So we know that we've got a number of people who need assistance, both financial but rebuild assistance as well. And we're going to stand with those people every step of the way to make sure that we get these communities back up on their feet. In terms of damage assessments across the north and the south, I can report that 21 homes have been destroyed, 990 homes have moderate damage, and 280 homes have severe damage. We're, of course, through this recovery effort, having a look and assessing these situations around how we can provide more support, both financial and other means, to community as we recover together.
Just, Mr. Boyd, while you're there, just on those damage assessments, you mentioned it's the north and south.
Yes, I combine them.
Could you split them?
I could if I have my phone on me, but I don't have my phone on me right now. Apologies, the numbers that I have are combined, but I'll get back to you with the split numbers. Thank you.
Just in regards to the North residents in Dagara, I feel like they've been forgotten about the floods. They say they've had no help at all. When is the government planning to do something to send more resources up that way?
I understand how devastated the community of Dagara has been through the flooding event. Dagara is just on the other side of the Bloomfield River to Wujal, and the amount of water that went through that community was absolutely significant. I haven't been on the ground in Dagara. I've only flown over it. And sorry, because the sites are just absolutely devastating around Dagara. Minister Butcher was in Dagara a couple of days ago. We've had our QRA CEO, Jake Elwood, who's been in Dagara only yesterday. The plan for Dagara and Wujal is to recover those communities at the same time. We plan on barging in infrastructure and doing the community recovery work there for both Dagara and Wujal simultaneously. Of course, it's been hard for residents in Dagara. We've offered to evacuate those residents post-event. Many of them decided to stay on. So we were supporting them through resupply of things like food and other essentials. But the reports that have come to me around the folks that stayed on in Dagara is that they're exhausted and that they need more assistance. And we'll be providing that assistance to them through the Douglas Shire Council, through the QRA, as we continue to recover from the event.
We know that more than 100 people have been deployed, SES people have been deployed from interstate. How many Queensland SES folk, I guess, are on deck?
Steve?
Thank you. So, yeah, there's 88 personnel deployed from Victorian SES, 42 from New South Wales SES, and effectively, and this is an approximate figure because it fluctuates on people travelling from a region day time, about 170 SES from Queensland, supported by a similar number of rural fire service and fire rescue personnel.
What is the size of Queensland's SES volunteer force?
It's approximately 3,000 volunteers in the SES workforce.
That's significantly lower than it was less than 10 years ago. Considering, I guess, the cascading and consecutive nature of disasters, what is the plan to stop that decrease?
Yeah, so at the moment, a significant investment over the last 2 years has been made into State Emergency Service to boost numbers, boost training, boost equipment. So a general uplift in the State Emergency Service across the board. And so that work is underway and is delivering dividends in terms of our training outcomes and recruitment outcomes as we speak.
Deputy Premier,
Yes,
with the Brisbane sort of coming into the firing line with this weather system moving up from the Gold Coast, what's the situation with Wivenhoe? Are there any plans for dam releases? Is there any concern about river flooding in the coming days?
Seqwater is working on monitoring all of those dams. They've gone to an alert status, but they are well used to dealing with torrential downpours in the southeast. So they're monitoring all of those dams closely, and of course they will update the community if any action needs to be taken. But at this stage, they're just in a monitoring position to monitor all of those dams across the southeast.
Is there any threat for big river flooding like we saw in 2022, or is it more localised sort of?
Well, not that I've been briefed to this point, but happy to get you that information from Seqwater.
We've seen some pretty extraordinary vision come out of Mount Tamborine of homes that were inundated by water. They've been severely damaged. Are there any plans for assistance or a temporary accommodation to be provided for the residents?
Yes, there's evacuation centres and temporary accommodation available to individuals who are impacted. You've heard about the Gold Coast today. Thankfully, some people went into the evacuation centres but are now being supported by family and friends. So those services are available from the government if it's required by householders who've had the double whammy of those storms and now those floods. And of course, we'll provide them with whatever support they need until the rain event finishes, the waters subside, and they can get back to some normalcy.
And backup generators? Anything on backup generators?
Yeah, there's a whole range of activity that Energex is engaged in. Not only do we have more than 500 police, fire and SES personnel out in the community, we've got 700 Energex staff and crew members out in the community. Some of their work had to be paused because of the weather event, the rain we've had over the last 24, 36 hours. But they're out there and they're looking at a range of mechanisms to respond. I was out with the crews at Tamborine on Sunday, and you could just see the devastation to the power system. Some of the parts of the power system have been obliterated effectively, and they have to be rebuilt. You see some of the power lines that have effectively been shredded by the wind that impacted that part of Queensland, but they're doing a mighty job. It was hot, stifling work on Sunday, but they were out there doing their very best. What we're looking at, of course, is microgrids, other generators that can be put on site. Following a request from the community on Sunday, we spoke with the federal government, and I want to acknowledge Federal Minister Senator Murray Watt for his help to look at whether we could stand up ADF generation support. We investigated that. The reality is those generators do not fit comfortably with the state electricity system, but we examined that issue. We couldn't make that work, but we are looking at other resources, including commercial generation as required. But Energex has done an amazing job. We've got 92% of households and customers that lost power. They're now back online. There's now 11,000 households or customers without power, and we're looking to restore those as quickly as possible. We're hoping to get everyone back as far as we can on the 5th of January, but I think that will be delayed a little bit because of the weather event. But Energex is doing an incredible job in difficult circumstances to get that power up. But for some parts of the South East, this isn't restoration, this is rebuild, because the energy system has been destroyed. And so we have to rebuild the energy system before we can connect homes. But I spoke with some householders on Sunday too, and they understand the impact it's had. They were very understanding and very thankful of the work that Energex was doing in their street in Tamborine. So we're working through all of that, and we will get that power on as quickly as possible. We know how frustrating it is. We know how difficult it is for families, in particular at this time of the year. But we're working as hard as we can to get that power restored.